What is up, guys? It's your boy No Risk and No Premium back with another episode of the Market Overview, guys. Today we had a gap up, and then more war news kind of seemed to drill this thing right back on down. So, what are we going to do going into the remainder of the week? Well, it does look like we've lost some major levels to the upside. So, if we're seeing a little bit of a trend change here, it seems that way we're getting across on the daily. So, it looks like short the pops is going to move the move. Now, that doesn't mean we can't bounce, right? That doesn't mean we can't bounce, right? If we're in a downtrend, just like we doesn't mean that we couldn't reject when we were in, an uptrend, right? So you could still have bounce levels, you could still have reject levels, but what trade do you favor now until you see a true bottoming pattern and reversal pattern is likely fade the pops. Okay, so just want to make that clear for everybody. Going on to the data tomorrow morning, not much going on. 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Building permits does come out. That really looks like it's it. I always double check it with this the Market Watch calendar just to make sure. We do have Daddy P speaking at 1:15. Is he going to say anything that we don't know? Likely not. But you can see this pre-market data here, and then nothing. A little bit, actually 15 minutes before the market opens, but then nothing after the market opens. So I like seeing that. I don't really like waiting for that, 10 a.m. data that comes out sometimes. It's always nice to see that we could just get right into it and on with our day here. But Big Daddy P, 115. So stay cognizant there of a Big Daddy P. Let's look at the chart here, looking at ES coming down to this 50.60 to 50.83. I think this is a bounce zone. I don't think this is a market reversal zone. I do think this is a bounce zone. So for me tomorrow, what I'll be watching is the reaction here of buyers. Are there any buyers left over that want to make us maybe a dead cat bounce? And I take this thing back to 51.60. 51.60. I'd look to take the reject up there. Okay, why? Huge Friday low candle, broke through it. So all these buyers, did they become sellers, or some of them waiting to get out here? Likely. So 51.60, I look to take the reject there. Watching this 50.60 bounce, I am favoring a move much, much, much lower, all the way down to about 49.50. That'd be about a 400-point pullback. I like that pullback area to be, maybe watch this area for a true reversal down here, but I'm not trying to call bottom or anything like that. I'm just saying here's my area of interest underneath 50.60. I think 59.60, or excuse me, 49.60 would be that next area of interest I would have. So we're going to look to take a short here at 51.60, take the bounce here, bounce. Now, I'm not saying reversal, just a bounce here at 50.60 to 50.80 zone, right? That's going to be a zone in there. Let's watch how we react. Okay, let's just watch how we react. So going on to NQ here now. Excuse me. Looking at NQ, much cleaner, right? I think the short now you can see is easily at this 18,000 to 18,050, right? In this little zone. And here I'll put this little kind of like a pocket almost, if you will, of a short setup zone that we could be watching for, okay, to take this thing a little bit lower. If we're going to bounce anywhere, it seems like we're kind of already here. You guys see last some wicks down in this area. If we're going to bounce, and be at the 17,800 to about 17,000. 850-ish in this zone, kind of where we're already at. So watch this area going until tomorrow. This is kind of like that 50-60 to 50-80 zone on ES, very similar. Okay, so we're going to play around this zone here, 17,800. I will look for the shorts up above 18,000 to about 18,100 in that area. Just watch for some weakness. Okay, if not, I do favor for a bounce much, much lower. I would like 17,200. That's where I think we could see a much, much bigger bounce down in this zone down here. And possibly, right? Possibly a bottoming area. And I'm not calling bottom, I'm just saying a bottoming area where we can start thinking, okay, if we get enough consecutive bounces in this area, watch for a break of structure, then that's great. But for right now, for tomorrow, 18,000 to 18,100, we're going to look to short. Could take a dead cat bounce here at 17,800. But if not, if we fall through there, we've got 400 to 600 points of downside. So lots of moves to be captured here. Super excited about that. Spy Guy. Let's take a look at Spy Guy attempting to take this gap out, right? So if we're going to bounce anywhere, it's at this 503.50, right? It's at this 503.50. If we are going to bounce, it's right at this gap fill. Maybe we get a little below it and bounce it back up. If that's the case, 508 to about 510, we can look for this short setup in here, right? We can actually look for a short setup in this zone if we want to come up and retest Friday's low, reject it, and take this thing back down lower. 490. eight. 497.50 is the gap fill. So watch the bounce here at 503.50. Because if we bounce, it's going to maybe catch some people offsides for this huge gap fill and then pop this thing up. I'll be looking to short up in this zone up here. I favor much, 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 much lower here underneath 498. 490 would be that next bounce zone that I'd really be looking for us to take a pretty big bounce in there. And then 478 would be where I'd be looking for maybe a bottoming pattern to plan out, because we see a lot of balance in this zone that we were here for a little bit while, and then we really started an uptrend there. So if we broke out of this balance, do we come back down and test it? It's very positive. That's a lot lower. But let's just put things in the grand scheme of things. Like a 10% pullback here would be 50 points. 50 points down is about 478, right? A 10% pullback, I don't think is an insane asking of a market correction that has been on an absolute tear to the upside. QQQ attempting the gap fill. Watch for a bounce. 425. I favor 421 though. Watch for bounce 425 to get the gap fill. And this is actually, we've got to make a new one of these because we are into this gap now, right? So now that we're into this gap, we can see that gap is shortened, but we could watch the initial bounce at 426. I'm not saying reversal, but watch for a bounce there, right? All of these buyers will defend on this gap up. Watch for a bounce here, but I like 421 even better. There's a small gap to be filled here down at 413, which I really like, which would also be about a 10% correction, right? 450, 10%. You guys can do the math. Takes us almost down to about 400 or about 410 area, which is where this old balance took place, right? You guys can see this was same as that. Yeah. So we're looking at, much, much lower here, but I'll be looking to fade the pop up back up into about 436. Should we dead count bounce here on this 430-ish level, fade this bounce up to about 436. Okay, if we can get that. If not, look to take the break into this zone to fill down to about 426 and watch the bounce for 421, 426, 415. Are going to be your levels. And then I really like IWM here. I like IWM. I will be watching anything into 190. I do think that is a great swing setup opportunity. You have the 200-day moving average here as well. So let's watch this 190 now. We couldn't get back above 200. 196 holding for now. I don't love it. But I do like 190. I would really like to swing an indice. If I swang an indice, it would be, I like IWM here. I do. So 190. Let's watch 190 here to see if we could play a bounce play, even buy some longer dated calls on IWM here. See if we can run this thing back on up to the upside. Guys, that is all I'm going to have for you today. Don't forget a little bit of that in the pre-market. Big Daddy P at about 115. And other than that, you got to wake up early, get your levels right, and of course, not do anything fucking stupid. See you bright and early. Peace.